Hi, thank you so much for tuning in on today's episode of The Sexy Vegan Chef. I'm going to be making some stuffed bell peppers today with some sauteed string beans. And then I'm going to do some loaded mashed potatoes. So let's just jump on right in. So you're going to take your bell peppers, make sure you wash them of course, and then you're going to slice your top off, giving you enough room that way you have a good sized bell pepper left. That way you can stuff all your ingredients in there. Now if you want, you could preserve your tops. Some people, if you're doing a dinner or you're hosting a fancy dinner or whatever, if you want to make it look about your presentation, however you want to present it, it's up to you. You can take the tops that you cut off and you can grill those. You can saute them, pan fry them, and you can just leave them as is. So once you have all your tops cut off, then you're going to go ahead and wash them out one more time. I have my water already preheated boiling, so that way I can just put these in there. And I'm going to let them boil for a couple minutes. I'd say probably about 5 minutes, so that way I'm going to put them in the oven, and once I put them in the oven, they're going to be able to maintain their firmness. So I don't want them to get too soggy and flimsy. So I'm going to put these in there, as you can see. As I put them in the water, I like to put a little water inside so it cooks the inside as well as the outside. Since those are going, what I'll be doing is doing the string beans. This is going to be, I'm cutting the red pepper. This is going to go into the sauteing of our string beans. So then I'm going to slice it this way because I like it to be long and thin, the same as the string beans that I'm doing. You can cut the red pepper as thin as you want, as thick as you want, whatever works for you. I guess I used a half of a red pepper for this one. So that's that, and then I'm going to cut a little bit of a white onion. And you can quarter it. Since I won't use the whole onion, I took a quarter of it. Oh, I love onions. Alrighty, so these are going to be your ingredients for your string beans. So I have my oil already over there on the pan. It's going to start getting hot. I'll saute the string beans for a little bit. Then I'll add the onion and the red pepper in there, so that way I like mine a little bit firm, a little bit firmness, not too soggy. You can also steam these if you want. So you could take these same string beans and you could do, if you have a steamer, you can put these into a steamer if you don't want to cook out the nutrients in it. Or you can saute it like I'm about to do in some olive oil, but it's all about you. It's still going to taste as good as whatever you put into it. So now that we have our olive oil already coated on our pan, I'm going to take our string beans and we're just going to add them into the olive oil. You're going to let them saute, like I said, for roughly about 5 minutes. Everything for me is like 5 minutes, but because I don't like to cook everything too long, that's why. So we're going to saute these, let them start to get a little hot, break down just a little bit, but not too much to where they're soggy, but still firm enough and keeping their firmness. Then in about a minute or two in, as they're cooking, I'm going to add in the red onion. I'm going to add in the onion, and I'm going to add in the red pepper. So now we're over here checking on our bell peppers. They've changed from like a lighter green to a little bit darker green. That's good enough for me, so I'm going to empty these out, put them in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to boil my tops. So I'm just going to be extra fancy with it. That's right, I am extra. Ooh, that was hot. Alrighty, here we go. So I'm going to boil the top just a little bit, so that way it's soft, so I can have it look nice on the appearance for you guys. Take these over here while our string beans are cooking. So now that these have been cooking for about a minute or two, I'm going to go ahead and add in the onion and the red pepper. And I'm not going to boil these tops too long. I want them just to be nice and soft, but a little firm, since I'm not going to put them in the oven with the whole bell pepper. So I'm just going to wait till they get nice and soft. Yes, I'm dipping my hand in hot water. Just ignore me, it's fine. Oh my gosh. Something Something about sauteed onion smells so good. I love the smell of a sauteed onion. It smells so freaking good. Okay, so keep mixing it through, mix it well. Make sure you're turning them frequently so they get a little brown on all sides, cooking evenly, but maintaining the texture. You know, as you notice, I may not be putting seasoning in as I'm cooking. Why? Because for several reasons. Depends on what I'm cooking is when I season my food. For these, I'm not adding any seasoning until after the fact for several reasons. One, I don't want my seasoning burning in the pan because the seasoning that I'm going to use is a little lighter. So I don't want it to burn my pan, as well as I don't want it to burn in the pan, and when you eat it, it's going to taste a little burnt. So I want you to taste the full freshness of the veggies that I'm using. So I'm going to saute my vegetables first, then I'll add my seasonings afterwards. You can do it however you like, according to your style, what you like. This is just what works for me and the way I like it. And since I'm eating it, this is how I'm doing it. So I'm going to add some Jada's spices, turmeric, my favorite, one of my favorites. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this because it's at the end. You don't need much. A little bit goes a long way. Mix this up. This is done. This is already ready already. Take it off the heat. Here we go. Alrighty. And there you have it, your sauteed string beans with white onion and red pepper. So now that we have our bell peppers out of the water, and they're all nice and firm but flimsy. So we're gonna do the filling, my vegan crumble. Then I'm gonna take some spinach, and we're gonna cut this up a little bit. Chop up your spinach a little bit to go inside. I'm gonna chop it a little bit thin, only because I want it to be nice and, I don't know, I guess small enough. So when you're biting into it, you're not biting a whole leaf. And I flip it, yes. Everybody's different. This is the way I chop mine. So you're gonna throw this in your pan. I'm gonna do some green onions. Oh, so yummy. And then I'm gonna take about 2 garlic cloves, smash them, and chop them in there for some fresh garlic. Like I said, you can mince your garlic however you like it. I like mine a little thick, a little bit chunky. So I'm gonna chop it up, chop it up, chop it up, chop it up. And I'll give it one more chop around. Add this. And that's more so of my fresh ingredients. For the dry, I'm gonna use a little bit of my favorite. You guys know I always use kosher salt. I love it. So a little bit of, that's enough, kosher salt. And then we're gonna use a little bit of an Italian seasoning, okay? Use whatever seasoning you want. You can do all kind of things with stuffed bell peppers. That's the cool thing. You could do a seafood type stuffed bell pepper. You can do an Italian version. You can do a soul food version. You can do whatever your heart and your mouth desires and your taste buds want and your family's gonna eat. So, and what's in your budget. So you're gonna mix all this, blend all this. So I'm gonna add a little bit of cumin to this, just because I felt like I wanted some. Blend it a little bit more, mix it up well. Gosh, this smells so good. It smells so garlicky and so fresh. I love it. So then, once you mix it all well, let the stuffing begin. So you're gonna take your pepper, your bell pepper, spoon it, fill it up, scoop it up, scoop it up. I'm gonna go back in and pack it in a second. I just wanna make sure I put enough for all 4 of my little peppers I have. And last but not least, now with this, make sure you can also do quinoa. You can add your starch in there too. You can add diced potatoes. You can even do some basmati rice, some jasmine rice pre-cooked. You can use a brown rice. You can do whatever else you want for your filling. Like I said, this is just what I had the taste for. This is what I was in the mood to make. And this is the filling that I wanted to use. And I'm gonna pack it, make sure it's packed nice and tight. Now I'm gonna go back to each of them and make sure they're nice and packed, full. Then I'm gonna top it off with a little bit of some tomato, Italian and tomato sauce. Put them in the oven to bake And then the last minute or so, I'm gonna add some mozzarella, some vegan mozzarella cheese on top of that. And then my little toppers that I had boiling off to the side, I'm gonna use those toppers for my presentation of my plating. Alrighty, so here we go. Now that we stuffed these to the max, I say we like it's more than me, it's me. Take some tomato sauce. And some of its juices, and let it drip, drip, drip. Then I'm gonna put them in the oven on 400 for about, I don't know, 5 minutes. Like I said, I don't want the texture to break down, but because they've already been boiled and then I'm gonna bake them, they're already starting to soften up. So I'm gonna put these in the oven for about 5 minutes, and then the last minute or so, I'm gonna add some mozzarella on top of it, sprinkle on top to bake it, to give it that nice cheesy coating, and then we'll get ready to eat. What we're about to do now is get into our loaded mashed potato. So for me, what I want to do, I'm going to use this filled roast sausage. I'm going to open this and I'm going to chop it up because I want I don't know, like an everything style type. So I'm going to pan cook these. Make sure you're taking that casing off of it. So you're going to peel it. There you go. Make sure you get it off. See that silver little part right there? Make sure you take that off. That is not edible. Everything inside is. Okay, so I'm going to take these sausages and I'm going to put them in the pan with a little bit of olive oil so that way they can be cooking. And then I'm going to start by mashed potatoes. So that way these are going to be going into the loaded mashed potatoes. These are going to be added with a little bit of everything, bagel seasoning and all that good stuff. So, come on. So I have my pan, nice and hot. Add my sausage, vegan sausage. Here we go, add a little oil. Drizzle, 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 and that's enough. I'm going to put it on medium high. And there you go, they cook. Since it's plants, they don't take long to cook. So while those are browning, I'm gonna go over and do my mashed potatoes now. So I take the Yukon Gold potatoes. I love, for mashed potatoes, so there's a billion different types of potatoes. Okay, maybe not a billion, but there's different types of potatoes. So for me, what I like for when I do my mashed potatoes, I don't like russet because they're a little bit earthier, thicker. I don't want all that. I want a creamy texture with my potatoes, so I use the Yukon Gold. So I go ahead and put these in there after they've been baked, steamed, whatever, however you like to cook your mashed potato to make it be mashable. So I have my Yukon Gold. I'm gonna take a little bit of vegan butter, some vegan sour cream, vegetable broth, and then I'm just gonna mash it up. I leave the skin on. Everybody is different. Once again, you use and do whatever works best for you. For me, I like to leave the skin on because I like texture. I like the thick but creaminess of it. Yes, I could use a potato masher. I don't want to because I like to use it like this. I like to hand mash it myself so that way I can mix it and get it to the desired texture that I like. So now that we have our potatoes mashed, I'm going to take the sausage and I'm just going to start dicing them up so I can break them down because I want a little bit of a crumble. I want a little meat into my mashed potato. So this is what's going to give it that everything. I'm going to break it down just a little bit more so I can add it to my mashed potato. Then I'm going to throw in my seasoning. Super simple ingredients. It's going to be a little bit of everything bagel seasoning from Trader Joe's. You can get that at a local Trader Joe's. If not, you can also purchase it online from Trader Joe's. Or you can add whatever seasoning you want. So once you have it chopped to your desired liking, which this is for me, I'm going to add this to my mixture. Since it's everything, I want to have everything in there. And because I want mine a little bit creamier, I'm going to add a little bit more broth. Keep adding it to your liking. And then here's your everything bagel seasoning. Use that throughout. Oh, they smell so good. And I want a little bit more sour cream because I want it to be a little bit creamier. That's 1/3 of a cup. Sure. Now you could add cheese if you want. That would just put it over the top. I might do that just because I'm extra and this is unscripted. I'm gonna add a little bit more because I want it to be a little bit thinner. Oh, it smells so good. I'm gonna add some cheese. No, was that in my plan? No, but you know what? When you're in the kitchen, you just have to go with whatever you want. I'm gonna add some vegan cheddar cheese to this, and then that's it, because it's not everything loaded potato if you don't add everything that you want in there, right? So here we go. So I'm adding a little bit of green onion from my bell pepper. Oh yes. Left over, because we don't want to waste. Just going to add the rest of that broth. And then we're going to add some vegan cheddar cheese. And I haven't tasted this, but by eyeballing it, it needs a little of that. Okay, then we're done. Mix it up a little bit more. So here's our everything, our loaded mashed potato. Oh, yes. Alrighty. There you are. Okay, so now that we have our bell peppers, stuffed bell pepper out of the oven, we're gonna go ahead and put these on the plate. We have our loaded mash. And our string beans. We have our sauteed string beans with our red onion. And red. I keep saying red onion. It's not. It's onion with red bell pepper. Ta-da. So here you are. This is your weekday, weeknight, whatever meal you want it to be. Your vegan meal from the Sexy Vegan Chef. No animals were harmed in the making of this meal. And thank you so very much for tuning into this episode. See ya.